Can. So join me, Michelle Dewberry, Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on Jubes & Co.
On radio, they call it the drive time slot, 4 p.m. until 6 p.m. as listeners head home. It's that part of the schedule when the dust of the day's events begin to clarify, and we try to make sense of it for you. Brazier is drive time for radio and TV. It's fast, it's punchy, it's opinionated, there's a Brazier angle, and a little bit of levity.
That's the question. That's two questions, actually.
That's Brazier, Monday to Thursday, 4 till 6 on GB News.
Hello, I'm Patrick Christie's.
And I'm Mercy Moroki.
Make sure that you join us Monday to Thursday, 10 a.m. until midday, right here on GB News for To The Point.
We're not afraid to talk about the topics that matter to you or the big topics that always matter.
We cover absolutely everything, from the breaking political stories of the day to law and order, what's going on in the channel. We're not afraid to hold people to account.
We always make sure we include your views on our show.
Indeed, if you're thinking it, you can guarantee that we're saying it. So make sure you join the conversation with us, 10 a.m. until midday, Monday to Thursday for To The Point on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello and welcome to Headliners, the show that has comedians review the papers. I'm Dominic Frisby, and with me tonight are Dana Alexander and Leo Kearse. I'm looking forward to this one. But as always, we start with the serious stuff, and we go to the news, which is read to you by Polly Middlehurst.
Thank you. And the top story, Russia has threatened to cut off its gas supply to Poland and Bulgaria tomorrow unless they pay for imports in rubles. The countries would be the first to have their gas stopped by Europe's main supplier, Gazprom, since Moscow started its invasion of Ukraine. The move follows sanctions imposed by Warsaw against Russian individuals and companies. Here, the Foreign Secretary says the fate of Ukraine remains in the balance and the West cannot be complacent. Speaking tonight, Liz Truss urged allies to increase defence spending and impose tougher sanctions, so President Putin had nowhere to go to fund his war. She added Western allies must be prepared for the long haul to ensure Russia's defeat in the Ukraine war.
For too long, there was a false distinction between defensive and offensive weapons. It became an excuse for some to drag their feet. That time has now passed. NATO allies are clear that we are delivering heavy weapons to Ukraine. That's what the Ukrainians need to halt the latest Russian initiative and regain control of their territory.
Well, a man arrested on suspicion of the kidnap of Katie Kenyon in Lancashire has now been further arrested on suspicion of her murder. Lancashire Constabulary say although Katie hasn't yet been found, they're now working on the assumption she's no longer alive. The 33-year-old woman from Burnley hasn't been seen since last Friday morning. A senior government source says the Prime Minister should privatise the Passport Office unless it clears the backlog of applications. Boris Johnson said to be horrified that families simply wanting to go on holiday this summer are now under pressure to pay up to £100 more to fast-track their applications simply because of the delays. The World Health Organization is warning the surge in hepatitis among children could be down to COVID restrictions. The body says 169 acute cases have been reported in 11 countries around the world. And the UK Health Secretary Agency says 111 children in the UK have been diagnosed. 10 of those have needed a liver transplant. Experts say this could be that the virus was suppressed during lockdown. Downing Street has underlined the need for Twitter to remain responsible and protect users from harm. That comes as the platform's founder welcomes a £34.5 billion takeover of the company by the world's richest man, Elon Musk. The Tesla boss says he wants Twitter to be a platform for free speech. And tennis star Novak Djokovic will be able to defend his title at Wimbledon this year. That comes after the All England club confirmed players won't need to have had a COVID vaccine to compete. The world number one has only been able to play 3 tournaments so far this year due to lockdown restrictions. On TV, online and on your radio via DAB+. You're with GB News, and now it's time for Headliners.
Thank you very much, Polly. Hello and welcome to Headliners, the newspaper review show that has comedians sleuth out the best stories from tomorrow's rags. I'm Dominic Frisby. My news hounds tonight are Poodle, Leo Kearse, and Chihuahua, Dana Alexander. Welcome to you both. Are you happy with your Poodle comparison, Leo?
Yeah, I mean, as long as you're picking up my poo in a little bag.
I would always do that for you, if only for public health. And Dana, are you happy with your Chihuahua?
Well, if I can fit in a handbag, that would be a miracle, so why not?
It's the one dog that you can fit in a handbag. Very good. Nice, pithy opening sentences, folks. That's what we like. Right, next up we have the headlines. Let's go to them. And we start with the Daily Mail, which has... No Mr. Speaker. With an overreach that startled MPs, the Commons Speaker summoned the Mail on Sunday's editor to appear before him over its Angela Rayner Basic Instinct report, to which, in the name of a free press, the Mail respectfully replies, no Mr. Speaker. The Mail bigging itself up there. On to the Telegraph. Sunak faces cabinet pressure to cut tax. You can add pressure from me to that call. And Truss calls for increase in defence spending. You saw that speech there just now in the news. The Independent is next. Westwood accused of groping women. That is the hip-hop DJ, otherwise known as the biggest prat in hip-hop. A nasty story, which we'll be covering in just a sec. And cabinet clash over plans to ease cost of living. Onto The Guardian, there's Tim Westwood again. DJ Westwood accused of sexual misconduct by multiple women, and health agency to halt COVID tests and cut jobs. The FT next. Tesla dented as investors count on Musk share sale to pay for Twitter. I'm not quite sure I agree with that narrative. Pretty much every share has been dented over the past 3 days. And there's also cabinet split over cutting food tariffs after grocery bills climb 5.9% in a year. Why not just write 6%? It would make the headline more readable. The Mirror, addicted to giving. This is the big-hearted lotto winner. Good for her. Gran, who has given away half her fortune, hands out another 11 million to help strangers. I must send her my email address. Right, The Times now. Russia threatens strikes against Western targets. This is a worrying development. And suitcases stuffed full of COVID loan cash seized at UK border. Perhaps we can spend some of that money to ease the cost of living crisis. The Express, you're paying record 718 billion in tax, but for what? Yes, indeed. And finally, The Star, the Daily Star. I'm laughing in anticipation. Well, he's a barrel of laughs, ain't he? Putin's poodle says Russia is at war with NATO and warns it could end in nuke disaster. Yes, indeed, that's a story we'll be looking at shortly, and those are the headlines. And let's kick off with that straight away. And Dana, the Mail and the Russian Minister of Foreign Affairs is now talking about nuclear war, a worrying development. Do we need to worry?
It's always been a worrying development. I don't know why anybody wasn't worried right from the start. Ukraine is in a real situation. So Russia's top diplomat has warned that NATO is now fighting a proxy war, with Russia in Ukraine, and there is a very serious risk that the conflict could turn nuclear. I guess the real question is, what does Russia have to lose? Do you know what I mean? I do think that Putin has calculated a lot of this, not always correctly, but there's always been a threat.
That's the danger of standing up and Ukraine's armies being too successful. I was actually, it's a bit of a sidetrack, but I was actually in Czech Republic over the weekend. And one of the reasons that Prague is so intact and such a beautiful city is firstly that Hitler went to university there when the Germans, before the Germans invaded, and it ordered the Germans not to bomb Prague. And then when the Russians invaded after World War II or took it, there was a deliberate policy to let them win because they decided they couldn't win, and thus did the city stay intact?
Yeah, but the thing is, Western liberal democracy, which is what's really at war with Russia and with Putin, can win, and it's looking like it will win. We saw, a couple of weeks ago, we saw the sinking of Russia's flagship battleship in the Black Sea, the Moskva, and of course Turkey's not letting further battleships into the Black Sea, so that's a big one. And nuclear weapons, I mean, they might possibly use battlefield tactical nukes. They're not going to nuke London. They're not going to nuke their kids' schools. So, I don't think we need to worry about that too much. This just shows how weak and desperate Putin and his cronies are, that they're willing to, rattle the sabre about nuclear weapons again. Honestly, if they fired nuclear weapons, if the nuclear weapons are maintained by the same people who maintain their tanks and their, battleship defence systems, I think the weapons will probably land just outside Moscow.
Yeah, they won't even make it to Poland, exactly.
Yeah, I don't think they'll make it across the channel. So, I'm not too worried about nuclear war.
Well, that wasn't poodle talk, that was Rottweiler talk there from Leo Kearse. Right, the Mirror now, and Dana, Russia has cut off gas supplies to Poland.
Yes, Russia suspends gas supplies to Poland amid ongoing crisis, Polish media reports. So supplies of Russian gas to Poland have been stopped days after Putin threatened to turn off the taps to hostile nations if not paid in rubles, according to local medias. Apparently, though, the warehouses are 76% full, and the government has told Polish citizens that there is no need to worry and that there won't be a shortage of gas in Polish homes. But you have to wonder if this is just a tactic to stop people panic buying.
I guess so. I mean, Austria's in trouble if Austria doesn't pay up.
I don't think you can panic buy gas unless you've got loads of balloons. So you can't fill the bath. But I mean, the thing that's happening is Germany is still paying nearly $1 billion a day to Russia for oil and gas. So for all that people donate, give weapons or whatever to Ukraine, Germany's still funding. I'm wondering if Germany's ever going to be on the right side in a war. That's what I'm wondering right now.
It must have been at some stage in the Holy Roman Empire before it was Germany.
The Visigoths.
The Visigoths were right.
I guess the real question is, what do they do if they don't have oil? You know what I mean? It shuts down everything. So there has to be another way for them to source that before they cut it off.
Yeah, well, at gas, Norway.
We can get it from countries with far better human rights records, such as Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Venezuela.
If they want to sell, and it seems like they don't.
Yeah, I think we should just go back to the old days. In Scotland, we'll burn peat. We used to burn peat. He's not a guy. We used to cut the grass, literally the turf under the grass. We'd burn that on fires, and that worked. And whatever we used in, tallow, we'll go back to using tallow in candles.
I don't think tallow kept you warm, though.
Yeah.
Tallow was to see.
You got enough
instead
of it.
Electricity.
Fill the bath. Stockpile your tallow.
Right, The Guardian next, and sexual misconduct allegations against the biggest prat in hip-hop, Leo.
Yeah, so Tim will fix it. So the renowned BBC DJ Tim Westwood has been accused of sexual misconduct by multiple women who claim he misused his position to take advantage of them. So, BBC DJ... accused of sexual assault and harassment. I mean, it's surely a one-off. The women, they were in their late teens or early 20s when the incidents happened. They described their experiences to The Guardian and BBC News as part of a joint investigation. I think it'd be quicker at this point to make a list of BBC DJs who haven't been accused of sexual assault. There's some shocking accounts of these women who, were young, they're in their teens and stuff, and Tim Westwood.
Are you familiar? Are you even familiar? Sorry, go on.
Well, just these are obviously allegations, so we can't say for sure.
There are a lot of them, though.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like Me Too is here forever. Let's be honest about that.
Are you familiar with Tim Westwood, or just
I
sort
quickly
of
had
predate?
I quickly had a YouTube search on him, yes, and whatever with that guy, I don't know what to say. What I thought was really funny is that the BBC has strict codes of conduct. Just ask Sir Jimmy Savile, right? So another one bites the muff. What can we say?
And also, by no means the first predatory male in the world of hip-hop. It's not just BBC. He's kind of got the double. But, you know, his dad's a vicar.
Yeah. Yes, so not the first predator of the family, then.
All in all, the gene stock isn't great. Right, The Guardian next, and a conflicted Guardian. On the one hand, it wants to gloss over the grooming gangs, but on the other hand, it wants to kick the Tories, and it looks like in this article, kicking the Tories takes precedence in what is a pretty embarrassing situation for them, Leo.
Yeah, so the Tories, I mean, we generally associate grooming gangs and sexual exploitation with the Labour Party, obviously, because the Labour establishment allowed Rotherham and Rochdale and grooming gangs in other towns to continue for decades for the sake of diversity. But in this case, it's actually a Tory politician. So Imran Ahmad Khan, who is Conservative MP for Wakefield, he was actually put on an expert panel offering advice on grooming gangs, but he was found guilty of molesting a teenage boy. Yeah, I mean, it seems. You know,
I think it was last week or even a fortnight ago he was found guilty, and then this.
And he hasn't stood down.
He hasn't stood down yet, and then this latest embarrassing situation.
Yeah. Although I suppose, I mean, if you're going to put somebody on a panel about child sexual exploitation, he's going to know a lot about it, considering he's been found guilty of it.
Yeah, who guards the guards, as the Romans once said. Any thoughts on
Exactly. The
this?
problem with internal investigations oftentimes. It just shows another one. You know, what can we say? I mean, they're going to be going through this for longer than they look for Maddie McCann's killer.
Right. A P&O ferry has lost power in the Irish Sea, reports The Times. Is it sabotage, Dana?
I don't know if it's sabotage more than it's unskilled labour. So basically, the Ferry European Causeway was escorted to a port after losing power in the Irish Sea. So agency workers, some of which are making as low as £5.50 per hour to replace, of course, the 800 staff members that were laid off, say they actually have been saying that they no longer want to work on this ship because of incidents like this. But if we go through, we actually find out the list of offences that P&O Ferries has now caused is as long as your arm, and the government has to step in to protect ferries, ferry safety and jobs. So, yeah.
I mean, that's the Transport Secretary, the General Secretary of the RMT Union saying that. So he has an agenda, but also a pretty warranted agenda.
He's got an agenda and he's got a point. I mean,
I did say a warranted agenda.
Aren't they getting? I heard they were training like macaque monkeys to operate to drive the ships and paying them in like peanuts. So no, I mean they're seriously undercutting. They're getting staff in from overseas who won't be familiar with the ships and won't be familiar with the safety regulations and the UK and Irish specific regulations. So, I mean, we're lucky this just lost power and went adrift. I think the next P&O disaster could be a ship at the bottom of the sea with lots of dead people. Because it's happened before. We've had ferry disasters before. Everybody seems to have forgotten.
Zeebrugge.
The Zeebrugge, yeah. Terrible tragedy. These are big metal things with lots of holes in them. They can sink quite easily.
We haven't had an incident like this the whole time it was under the control of people familiar with the ship. It is clear this is down to inexperienced crew. That's our man from the RMT saying that. Right, we move on, and we move on to The Independent, and Angela Rayner and the Labour Party seem to be finding a bit more clarity as to what a woman actually is, Dana.
Yes, what a funny story. Angela Rayner, basic instinct slur was not only sexist but classist. Labour Deputy Leader has told Lorraine Kelly that she was really down at having to warn her children about the article that has come up. So, of course, I guess she was sat in a skirt and she had crossed and uncrossed her legs, like I've been doing all broadcasts. You know, to be honest, I might not even have trousers on, you know what I mean? Lucky us. But, I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. And I think what's even more egregious is that the MP who said this to the reporter hasn't been named.
Well I don't think we should name journalistic sources. I think a key pillar of the Fourth Estate is not having sources revealed. I think the journalist has got a point. It can be very distracting. And Boris, of all people, is going to be most easily distracted by a leggy redhead sitting across from him. I don't know. Angela Rayner, she's complaining about the classism. Man, nobody's having a go at her for being working class. She won't shut up about how working class she is. She's all like, oh, I had to keep calling Bath. And all we had for Christmas was Finder's crispy pancakes, and I had to walk 3 miles to school, and I worked down a coal mine from the age of 7, and all this.
Exactly,
it's like, all right, northern people, we get it. You're very proud of being working class, but I don't even see you as northern. To me, you're soft southerners. You're almost as soft as Londoners.
Go on, Dana.
Well, what I was going to say is that the quote from one of the MPs was they know that she can't compete with Boris's Oxford Union debating training, but she has other skills which he lacks. I mean, if you're really going to distract Boris Johnson, I suggest you get a sandwich.
Oh, fat shaming him.
Yeah.
Well, that's bad. I'm
just
start
looking
a hashtag
for a fight today, eh?
Well, really. Well, I think fat shaming is terrible.
They're definitely milking this for everything it's worth, though. And I suppose that's what happens in politics. Right, We've reached the end of part 1. Don't go anywhere. What you have just seen is the beginning in part 2. We've got the shambolic passport office, slavery reparations, and Jamila Jamil, whoever she is. See you in part 2.
Hello, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and you can join me every weekday 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr. Me and my panel will get stuck right into the day's events, and I can tell you, in fact, I can warn you, expect some robust debate, some strong opinions and perspectives from both sides of the fence. It's about you at home as well. I love to read out all of your comments, or at least as many as I can. So join me, Michelle Dewberry, Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr.
On radio, they call it the drive time slot, 4 p.m. until 6 p.m. as listeners head home. It's that part of the schedule when the dust of the day's events begin to clarify, and we try to make sense of it for you. Brazier is drive time for radio and TV. It's fast, it's punchy, it's opinionated, there's a Brazier angle and a little bit of levity.
That's the question. That's 2 questions, actually.
That's Brazier, Monday to Thursday, 4 till 6 on GBNews.
Hello, I'm Patrick Christie's.
And I'm Mercy Moroki.
Make sure that you join us Monday to Thursday, 10 a.m. until midday, right here on GB News for To The Point.
We're not afraid to talk about the topics that matter to you, or the big topics that always matter.
We cover absolutely everything, from the breaking political stories of the day to law and order, what's going on in the channel. We're not afraid to hold people to account.
We always make sure we include your views on our show.
Indeed, if you're thinking it, you can guarantee that we're saying it. So make sure you join the conversation with us, 10 a.m. until midday, Monday to Thursday, for To The Point on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Welcome back to Headliners. I'm Dominic Frisby, and with me considering tomorrow's papers are Leo Kearse and Dana Alexander. And we start with the Mirror, Leo, and Boris Johnson's threat to privatise the backside of the passport office. I don't think he used the word backside, but...
Yeah, he used the word you can't even say because of Ofcom. So Boris Johnson threatened to privatise the rear end, the bottom of the passport office if it struggles to clear its backlog. This has been confirmed by a senior government source. So the Prime Minister even put the DVLA and other arm's lengths. These are sort of arm's length bodies that sort of do, perform vital tasks for the government, but are, left to get on with it. But they haven't been getting on with it because of lockdown. Everybody's working from home, and so instead of doing any work, they're just sitting at home playing Call of Duty or whatever else, still sucking down that public sector salary, still putting that money into their pension pot, into like a cushy pension pot. The DVLA, during lockdown, they took months and months and months and months and months to change my address. And because my address hadn't been changed, I couldn't pay my car tax. It was only 30 quid anyway, because I've got a snazzy Audi. And then they stole my car and took it to a lockup, and I had to pay to get the car out of lockup, and then I had to pay again in a court because apparently there's some fine I was supposed to pay. So and it was all due to the DVLA's incompetence. So I think that
Did you get the money back?
No, there was somebody said I should, I started this legal thing, but it was just boring. Oh God, all these, that's what they get. You've got to fill in so many forms, you get bored, and you're just like, I'll just pay the money and I'll move on with my life. So yeah, I really hope that they nail these people to the wall because they're being too lazy. The passport office, they're not issuing passports quickly enough because they know their jobs are safe because they haven't been privatised. And then millions of Brits are not going to be able to go on holiday because they don't have their passports.
In defence of the passport office, this happens every year.
What happens every year?
Every year before the summer, there's always well, it didn't happen in lockdown, so nobody wanted a passport, But there's every year at this time of year.
Yeah, they're useless every year. This isn't a defence. They're consistently useless.
OK, well, that's fair enough. Have you had any dealings with our passport office
Well, when I have to get my right of abode stamped into my passport, and this is well before the lockdown, they tell you right away that it might take as long as 7 months or 9 months for them to return it. So as a result, I've had to use my old one with the stamp. They accept it at the airport because obviously they understand people who work internationally can't give their passports up. But the Home Office has been backlogged for many, many years, and some people might think that is a result of the hostile environment that Theresa May set. So who knows? And if you want to talk about privatising,
the passport office and the Home Office are different, though, aren't they?
No, but all of these things are handled under the Home Office. They're different departments within, yes. But anyways, we saw how the privatising went with the ferry company. So we also saw how it went with the rails. So let's see.
Privatisation works.
Yeah.
Not always. It didn't work with the ferries, did it?
It works. It works here.
Like when was the ferry national?
It was 3-4 stories ago.
Yeah, but that wasn't privatised. That was just sold from one company to another. It was still a public company. It wasn't a national company.
I thought that they privatised that. That's why they've gotten rid of all of their employees, no?
Yeah, OK, Dana, there are plenty of examples of private companies that have succeeded in business.
Sure, but I'm just giving you an example of one that hasn't. So we'll see. The rails have been privatised. How did that work out?
It worked out better. There's better service, and it's
it's never late. And it doesn't cost £300 to go to Manchester. Okay.
They were never cheap, and they were even worse than they are now. National Railways.
Yeah, and they didn't even have USB ports.
Right, The Guardian next, and the law of unintended consequences, Leo, one of the many victims of COVID, the demise of a bus route. I think this is actually yours, Dana.
Yeah, so the bus firm is actually been blamed for the working from home, for axing a century-old service to Birmingham. So a 108-year-old bus service linking Bromsgrove and Birmingham is going to be axed because so many people are working from home now. Transport boss has said. So people are going to probably have to work from home because they can't get to work now.
Or they get the train.
Full circle.
And it's interesting, other things, so it's flexible working patterns as well, and also confidence in being around public places. So because of lockdown, because the government forced us into this lockdown in case a few old people or fat people got COVID, we're forced into this lockdown that we didn't want, and now everybody's scared to go into a public place because it's scary. Oh, everything's too noisy. There's too many faces. So I think this shows the sort of negative impact of the lockdown, which nobody ever talks about.
Not on GBNews. Staying with The Guardian, because Leo is on, we have cheating students, or is it outmoded universities? Which is it, Leo?
Well, it's both, I think. I think the universities are outmoded and overpaid, and the students are lazy and like to cheat. So students are being incentivised to cheat at university by commercial essay mills offering buy one, get one free deals, loyalty schemes and high street style cashback offers, a conference was told. So it's good to see inflation hasn't hit university cheating. But there's a growing normalisation of cheating in higher education with the shift to online assessments. So you're not seeing the kid write the essay in front of you. And there's a growing availability of artificial intelligence essay writing tools. But I don't know. I mean, I think we all do it. I'm not even here. This is actually a hologram being controlled by a 16-year-old in Taipei. The real Leo Kearse is relaxing on a yacht in the Mediterranean right now. But yeah, I mean, I think if you can outsource your essay writing to, an essay farm in India or somewhere overseas, or use artificial intelligence tools, that's enough. That's better than writing the essay. You're going to be the next Richard Branson.
That's capitalism. If you look at the 19th century, there was a whole discussion of this on Twitter that I was reading. And to get a job in the Foreign Service, you had to list out every previous foreign minister, every one of their major achievements. There were huge demands, mental demands, placed on people to get jobs, ordinary public sector jobs. Those standards have long since gone, Dana.
I think they have, and I think when you're talking about people, for example, that are in medical school, I mean, that's, in my opinion, if somebody's been caught cheating, like in the case with Felicity Huffman in the United States, you might be facing a little bit of jail time because you might be putting people at risk at your job if you aren't trained properly.
In pretty much every profession, if you're not a proper lawyer and you don't know what you're doing and you cheated, but they are threatening students with criminal prosecution, but it won't stop them.
Well, yeah, but the people prosecuting them got their degrees through essay mills, so they don't know what they're doing. Whole world's going to be fine.
Right. The whole world has outsourced everything to somebody else. That's exchange.
Yeah.
Exchange and trade.
There's one man in India running everything in the West.
The Times now, and I'm looking forward to Dana's take on this. The Earl and Countess of Wessex's tour of the Caribbean and slavery reparations.
Yeah, so the Wessexes were asked to help win slavery reparations on their latest Caribbean tour.
Who actually asked them?
I believe it was Antigua and Barbuda, and yeah, I think there was also mention of it when Kate and William went to Jamaica, if I'm not mistaken. So the ill-fated tour of the Caribbean by the Earl and Countess of Wessex continued on a rocky path yesterday when Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda told the government, or the couple, that it was the country's wish to one day become a republic.
One day?
Yeah. So I guess they just don't have the ability to do that right now, but it seems like a lot of Caribbean countries are following this. And I don't think that they're out of order for asking for reparations. As you know, when slavery was slaves were emancipated, the owners of slavery, or the owners of slaves, were actually compensated by the British government to the tune of what would be, I don't know, I think it's like 20 billion. It was 40% of Britain's annual budget at the time. So if you have a problem with the slaves getting
get a bonus for ending slavery before anyone else?
See, that's the thing. Did Britain end slavery? There was way too... So I guess Jamaicans weren't hiding in the hills and planning slave rebellions and burning down plantations that had nothing to do with the emancipation.
Yeah, but people have been doing that before.
We were the first people to make it illegal.
And why do you think you made it illegal?
Because we got machines.
No, because the situation in the Caribbean was untenable and they were burning everything down and they were outnumbered by slaves about 4-1.
Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Go on, Leo, what do you think?
Well, I don't know. I'm looking forward to my Viking reparations from Sweden. Actually, Sweden's got loads of money. They can probably afford to give me money for my ancestors.
Japanese who returned got compensated. 3 billion marks were paid to Israel by Germany.
And the Romans. Holocaust. The Romans made my great-great-great-great-great-great granddad build some very straight roads. He didn't enjoy that.
Do you have problems with them receiving reparations?
The first indentured people in indentured servitude in the Caribbean were Scots and Irish. There's still communities over there.
And there's a big difference between being an indentured servant than getting being kidnapped in West Africa and brought and actually deprived of being an actual human being. The thing about it, if you actually look at Caribbean people like myself, we all have Scottish and Irish last names. My last name is Alexander because a lot of these people who were indentured servants were only doing it for 7 years and then went on to become slave masters themselves.
Well, but also a lot of them returned to Scotland. A lot of them returned to Scotland and then had to explain. No, a lot of them returned to Scotland and then had to explain a 7-year gap in their CV and then try and get a job. And the only skills they had were cutting down sugarcane. I think we need to, they're the people who need the reparations the most.
There's the Barbary slave trade as well. We need reparations for that.
Yep.
That's.
I think we should send Prince Andrew over to the island next. He does well in tropical.
We need reparations for him as well. The whole thing is it's so long ago. How do you administer it? Who pays? Who gets the money? Who doesn't get the money?
Me.
Who's entitled to what? What about all the people who were there before the slave trade began? Once you open the can of worms, you have to make reparations for
can is
all of
open.
human history.
The can is
the
open.
indigenous
The
Carib
can
people.
is open.
I met indigenous Carib people when I was in Dominica. I think it's the last place where you still get them in any sort of, substantial, settlement. So yeah, tiny wee guys.
So the Armistar genocide in northern India, they were compensated by the Brits. We see people who are getting reparations right now from the whole Windrush debacle.
And who pays?
The Brits.
And what about the slaves in the world right now? What about the slaves in the Middle East and in Libya and in China?
Qatar?
What about dealing with
really
slavery that's happening now?
Do you know what? There's a
Why
really
is everybody
long...
obsessed with slavery that happened hundreds of years
Why
ago?
is everybody obsessed? Well, I don't know. Maybe because when I go anywhere in the world, I get treated subhuman. We've been in the same hotel and we've received completely different treatment. You don't get harassed by the pool. What are you doing staying here? You don't get stopped by the police just for being in the wrong area. There is an attitude around the world globally that black people are subhuman. It makes it difficult for us in many areas.
British fault?
Listen,
Well, that was in Dubai.
difficult for us. Makes it difficult for us in education. It makes it difficult for us in housing. It makes it difficult for us in healthcare, policing. There is a price that has to be paid, and it has been paid to others. It's been paid to the Japanese. It's been paid to slave owners. Sorry, and it's
global
also been
perception of
paid
black
to the
people
Jewish.
and reparations for the slave trade are two different.
No, it's not, because it's a knock-on effect. I'm sorry, white supremacy still affects us today, and that was the cog.
Where's the white supremacy in adverts right now?
What a way to change this subject when you're losing.
How am I losing? What have I lost?
I like how you just like to shout over people anytime they're making a really
I'd
good
love to be
point.
able to talk for just 5 seconds.
5 seconds
amazing.
or 2 minutes straight with nobody interrupting you, because that never happens.
I didn't interrupt you.
Listen, I have to interrupt you or I won't get a word in.
OK, the Times still, and the day before contraceptive pill, changing the subject, Leo. Now that the day before contraceptive pill.
Yeah, if this conversation isn't enough of a contraceptive for people watching, there's a new drug combination that can be used as a contraceptive pill before you have sex. So women who are given ulipristal acetate, who's the new foreign secretary in Moscow, used as a morning after pill at present and sold under a different brand name, Elon. And there's another drug that you take with it called meloxicam, which is a type of non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug. So if you take them both together, it delays ovulation for 3 days. So you can take it if you're planning, you think, I might just have a drunken night out and accidentally have sex. You can take this pill before you accidentally have sex. So it's a good thing to take when you know you're going to do something you will regret or something. I don't really understand why you've got... There's the morning after pill from when you've made the mistake, but who plans for a mistake? I don't know. I don't understand this. I think, what's wrong with the withdrawal method? I was using it for 25 years, worked fine. Now I'm having a baby, but up until then, it worked fine.
It didn't work for me. Right, Dana, what's your thoughts on this?
It seems a little bit pointless. I'm a little bit too indecisive to make that much planning efforts, and I'd probably, if I was going down that road, I'd be taking the morning after pill, but condoms work as well, and these won't protect against STDs, will they?
I don't think
me and Dana agree on that. Did everybody see that? Me and Dana agreed.
That's the first.
Not a single argument about British history.
Right, that's the end of part 2. Stay with us for part 3 when the stories get even weirder. In the meantime, here are some ads. Survey the products, buy them, and join us in a moment or two.
Hello, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and you can join me every weekday 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr. Me and my panel will get stuck right into the day's events, and I can tell you, in fact, I can warn you, expect some robust debates, some strong opinions and perspectives from both sides of the fence. It's about you at home as well. I love to read out all of your comments, or at least as many as I can. So join me, Michelle Dewberry, Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr.
On radio, they call it the drive time slot, 4 p.m. until 6 p.m. as listeners head home. It's that part of the schedule when the dust of the day's events begin to clarify, and we try to make sense of it for you. Brazier is drive time for radio and TV. It's fast, it's punchy, it's opinionated, there's a brazier angle, and a little bit of levity.
That's the question. That's two questions, actually.
That's Brazier, Monday to Thursday, 4 till 6 on GB News.
Hello, I'm Patrick Christie's.
And I'm Mercy Moroki.
Make sure that you join us Monday to Thursday, 10 a.m. until midday, right here on GB News for To The Point.
We're not afraid to talk about the topics that matter to you or the big topics that always matter.
We cover absolutely everything, from the breaking political stories of the day to law and order, what's going on in the channel. We're not afraid to hold people to account.
We always make sure we include your views on our show.
Indeed, if you're thinking it, you can guarantee that we're saying it. So make sure you join the conversation with us, 10 a.m. until midday, Monday to Thursday, for To The Point on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Welcome back to Headliners. Joining me tonight are Leo Kearse and Dana Alexander. You can cut the atmosphere with a knife, and we start with Jameela Jamil, who I had never heard of until this morning, when she decided to quit Twitter because of the Elon Musk purchase. What do you make of this, Dana?
So, yeah, she's decided to quit Twitter because she supposes that Elon Musk, who would like to add a little bit more free speech to the platform, may engage in hate speech.
Elon Musk is...
that people might be encouraged to engage in hate speech. People who are recently and often blocked from the platform. People like Donald Trump, for instance. Yeah. Or we could say Milo Yiannopoulos, right? He was also... So I think when it comes to free speech, I think we really have to make a differentiation, or at least understand that hate speech isn't always isn't protected under free speech all the time.
But, there are laws against hate speech. There are laws against incitement. There are laws against defamation. So she says Twitter's going to become this completely lawless place, which is the opposite of what Elon Musk intends, obviously. He wants everybody verified, so they won't be able to hide behind anonymity and just pretend they're a really angry egg. But, yeah, she's saying all this stuff. I don't know, I'm seeing all this, like, left-wing people leaving Twitter. And I'm just like, oh no, please, Jameela, please don't go, please stay. Please stay. I mean, who's going to call me a Nazi or a heteronormative, transphobic racist if all the left-wing people leave Twitter? I don't know. She'll be back. I reckon she'll be back tomorrow.
I've just had some bad news just come in. Philip Schofield apparently is going to leave Twitter as well.
He was on Twitter.
He didn't even know, nor did I, to be honest. But I do want to know, who actually is Jameela Jamil, and why is this such a big deal?
She's an activist, and she's famous for... she was cast in an LGBT TV show on Channel 4, and people said, well, why are you casting a straight person in this LGBT show?
It's called Legendary.
And then she came out and she said, oh, no, wait, I'm queer, which obviously is a way of saying you're LGBT without actually having to do anything.
It's also important to note that she produced the show as well.
Yeah, so she put herself in an LGBT show, despite not being... And then she's like, oh, no, but I'm queer. Which is, like, people do that. Lots of people do that. They say, I'm queer. But you don't actually have to do anything. You don't have to have any same-sex action. And I think it's a way of, like, stealing those the sort of privilege points that proper LGBT people fought and were victimised for. Okay. You get on that acronym.
That leads us very nicely into the next story, which is another Guardian story, and the plight of LGBTQ people in Scotland. LGBTQ plus people in Scotland.
Yeah, right? I mean, the full acronym is LGBTQIA...
AI plus.
Plus. And there's loads more after that as well. It grows every year. But yeah, apparently life for LGBT plus people in Scotland is worse than it has been for a long time. I've considered leaving Scotland. It's just moved to London. But the 5-yearly report from this campaigning and advocacy group saw that of the LGBT plus people that they surveyed, 81% in 2017 thought Scotland was a good place, and 65% say that it's bad. What's interesting is there's been a huge increase in the number of respondents saying they're transgender. So 49% of respondents said they're transgender. So we're seeing this in the last few years. There's just been an explosion.
So the numbers on the rise, but the state of life for them is on, or their perceived state of life is going down.
Yeah, right? Yeah. So I mean, I don't know if any high-ranking people in the SNP could make a step and just come out and live their true life right at the top. But yeah, I don't know. It's Scotland has a very progressive government that's doing a lot for or trying to be seen to do a lot for LGBT people. So this really sort of undermines all the stuff that Nicola Sturgeon has been doing for...
What do you make of this, Dana?
I think, in the last few years, we are starting to use words like woke in the pejorative, so that anybody who's fighting for LGBT, Black Lives Matter, anybody who wants to save the environment is some kind of a woke demon, and I think that has really contributed to a community of a lot of intolerance in our community. I'm sorry.
Do you know which is the most discriminated against group in society? Is it white people, black people, men, women,
Dwarves.
Gay, straight? Sorry?
Dwarves.
Mm-hmm. Well, sort of, in a way. Do you know the answer to this? Ugly people. I'm serious.
Do you know this? How do you know this?
There's been a huge study on it by an American economist by the name of Daniel Hammerlesh. I'm going to ignore that little slight, Dana. And they get more. They find it harder to get jobs. When they do get jobs, they get paid less. They're more likely to get the sack. Yeah. As a result of getting the sack, they have lower standard of living. They're more likely to commit crime. When they do commit crimes, they get longer sentences. It's an ongoing thing. And if you think about it, it doesn't matter if you're white, black, whatever thing, it's how good looking you are.
Andrew Lloyd Webber's doing all right.
But then you have to also remember that beauty standards are often dictated, are cultural, right? So somebody might say that my black skin is ugly, or the type of nose that I have is ugly, or my hair. So we have to look at what the beauty standards are in that particular country.
Sure, but specifically the bottom 20%. Anyway, quite an interesting study, but because it's a sort of cross-sexuality, cross-race, cross-everything thing, there's no campaign groups.
But how do you decide who's ugly?
It's basically there's a way he defends it. Hammermesh defines it in the book. It's
subjective.
It's not.
It is subjective, but it isn't. It's one of those things. Most people, if you go, is that guy good looking? Is that guy ugly? Most people tend.
And there's going to be a scale of ugliness as well. And
he just uses bottom 20%.
Okay.
So as long as you're out of the bottom of 20%, you're all right.
Right.
Anyway, belief in England is a cogent and cohesive belief, said a judge today. But a man was sacked for standing as a political candidate for the English Democrats. Dana, tell us more.
Yes, a far-right politician who was sacked after bosses discovered his offensive views when he ran for Parliament has had his discrimination claim thrown out. So this is a man who identifies as an Indigenous Englishman, and it's all about English self-determination. And I think a lot of the reason why he was fired was because he failed to state what his views are, and there's probably a reason for that. Even the KKK puts a hood on.
What was his job?
He worked for the housing, one of those housing...
so he worked for a public sector, like housing
association.
Housing association. Well, at least he knows whatever he does next is going to be a better job. But this seems unfair to call him far right when really, I don't agree with him. He claims that the English have been suppressed by the British since 1825. That was us. That was the Scots that did that. And unless he thinks Wales have been doing it, and he's called for the death penalty for those committed of treason, which I thought treason already was something that
hasn't been an English king of England, Leo, since 1065.
Oh, and you won't shut up about it. Oh, tell me about the World Cup. And also, wanting to defend Indigenous English people, I can understand that. I mean, if the Cockneys were an Amazonian tribe, UNESCO and all these people would be up in arms trying to protect their culture.
I think
they just ship them out to Essex.
I think if this establishes that he has a bias and he's working for a housing board, this could actually lead to discrimination. Many people get done for what Donald Trump did as well.
You ever dealt with the housing? They're the most politically biased people in the thing. The problem with him is he had the wrong politics. Anyway, let's move on. I taught my kids to read with the Biff, Chip and Kipper books, which I thought were as innocent as it comes, but apparently not. This is from the Telegraph, Leo.
Yeah, so the Biff, I'd never heard of them, the Biff, Chip and Kipper books.
They're sweet little learn-to-read
like books. Tintin type books?
No, much...
Like cartoony type books?
Yeah, it's like there's a picture of Biff and Kipper, and it's like Biff is walking down the street, and you sort of put your finger under Biff is walking down the street, and you tell him the story and point to it. And
well, Biff walks down the street and straight into a KKK recruitment branch, according to the Telegraph. So a popular children's book from the series has been withdrawn following complaints that its portrayal of Muslim people was racist. So it showed these kids in which the young characters are transported to a foreign country with the help of a magic key. And they find themselves in a busy street market, which appears to be somewhere in the Middle East, with men with turbans, and women is dressed in a niqab. And Biff says, "Let's stay together. The people don't seem very friendly." And another character, Wilf, says, "I don't like this place. It's scary." I mean, it's horrific. I mean, can you imagine it being written
Presumably
about the West?
Is that they're scared because they're in an alien environment.
Can you imagine it being written about the West in a book in a madrasa in Saudi Arabia? Oh my God, I'm sure the imams would be in uproar getting that book pulped.
Well, I think everybody gets A's when they mark their own report cards, but there's been a lot of casual racism in children's books. Enid Blyton and the Three Gollywogs, I'm sure you'll remember. And if you want to talk about anti-Middle Eastern sentiment, I don't know if you recall the movie Aladdin. They actually had to change the lyrics of that song because one of the original lines was, "And they'll cut off your ear if they don't like your face." My boyfriend's Middle Eastern, and I've had people say, "Oh, he looks like a baddie in a film." Representation is important, and it's really important when we're talking about children because this does shape how they see people in the future.
I was shocked to find out Aladdin's not a documentary about Middle Eastern life.
Good one.
The Times, Dana, and Disney is standing up to Saudi Arabian censorship.
Yeah, so Disney refuses the Saudi order to cut two mums reference from Doctor Strange film. Saudi Arabia has banned Disney's latest superhero film after the film company refused to remove LGBTQAI+ references.
Oh, they've done the full. Oh no, you added that in.
I added it.
Right.
Yes, I did.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's refreshing to see a company that makes money actually standing up for something that it pretends to care about on Gay Pride Day or whatever it's called. I mean, the World Cup certainly aren't doing it for Qatar. So, yeah.
Well, I think what is Mohammed bin Salman, he has the 2030 plan. I don't know if you're familiar, but he wants to turn Saudi Arabia into the new Europe, and gay people live in Europe, so he better buckle up.
Right, the Mail next, and the family terrorised by golf balls after buying a house next to a golf course.
Don't laugh, Dominic. These people are terrorised, literally terrorised. So a family living near a golf club or a country club in Massachusetts have won nearly $5 million in damages after being terrorised with golf balls that obliterated the side of their house, shattered nearly all of their windows, and forced neighbourhood children to wear helmets while playing outside. So in 2017, they purchased what they thought was their dream house on a golf course, basically. And then they were shocked to find out that golf balls hit their house. I don't know, how can you award these people any money? How did they get the money together to buy the house when they don't realise that if you buy a house on a golf course, you're going to get hit with golf balls?
Yeah, but apparently it was badly placed, the house.
Yeah, it was on a golf course.
No, but it was right in if you hit your drive badly, it went straight into their
And there were other houses on that course that didn't have the same problem.
Yeah.
Put up a big thing. Put up a big thing to stop the balls.
They wouldn't put up a big thing.
Put up a big thing.
They didn't put up...
They
wrote to the golf course and said, "Will you put up a big thing?" And the golf guy ignored their email.
This reminds me when I worked with the police doing analytics and stuff, and there's all these residents. They would this is in Westminster, and residents would complain "Oh, there's I moved in here and there's a nightclub. There's a nightclub making all this noise." It's like, yeah, you moved into Soho. What on earth? There's a nightclub there. You knew that before you moved in. In this case, it's a golf course.
Well, what I don't understand, Dana, but perhaps you can shed some light on it, is they won $4.9 million in damages, and the house is only worth $750,000.
Well, I guess they busted out how many windows? I think they had to replace, 36? I don't remember how many windows it was.
$4 million worth of windows.
Fair enough. But I think it was more the stress that they were suing for and the potential damage it could have done to their children. I think she was talking about putting her baby in a baby thing or whatever, and the golf ball went right at her feet, which, you know, could be potentially lethal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. Don't buy a house next to a golf course unless it's Wentworth, in which case you're very rich, and well done for making so much money. Right, the Mirror now, and the Brazilian man with 9 wives and the plan he devised so that none felt left out, Dana.
Yes, Arturo Urso from Brazil has shared how he juggles 9 wives and has lifted the lid on how he has even been forced to create a sex router so none of them feel like they're missing out. I think this man is lying to himself. Any woman who marries a man with 8 wives has no intention on having sex with him. Let's be honest about that.
How do you know that?
Come on now, why would you? Why would you? What would you expect in that marriage? I think, you know what? I think it's a
Maybe she
perfect
thinks
plan.
she's the one who can win him.
Maybe she's the one. Who knows? It's funny. Everybody likes polygamy, but I wonder what they'd say if a woman had 9 husbands.
Well, that would be celebrated in The Guardian. They'd be like, oh my God, she's so empowered. Oh, she's turning heteronormative patriarchal norms on their head. But if a man does it, oh my God, he's a monster. No, I think the criticism...
Did anybody call him a monster?
I think the criticism of this man is it's racist because he's from Brazil. And yeah, it's cultural badness. So, yeah, but what I liked was he says there's only jealousy when he gets one of them a gift. He gets one of them an expensive gift and another a cheaper or smaller one, and there's jealousy among them. Yeah. It's great. You get that
one
with
of them. One of the 8
gerbils.
is seek to divorce. Anyway, profound insights there on that one from Leo. Right, here's another one. It's in The Guardian. Where else? Fictosexuals.
Yeah, so this is a new type of sexuality invented by left-wing people so they can add more letters to the acronym. I've got an F on the end now. A fictosexual is someone who loves fictional characters, but falls in love with fictional characters. I mean, I thought that
like your wife.
No, I'm a real person. I'm right here.
Sorry, sometimes you're a bit of a pants.
I was joking about the hologram. But yeah, fictosexual. And also, keep my wife's name out of your goddamn mouth.
Oh.
A fictosexual. I thought this would be a fictoromantic. Because they say it's somebody who's fallen in love, whereas fictosexual is somebody who has sex. This is what the left don't get about. This is even Stonewall. They're trying to say that homosexuality is when you're attracted to somebody of the same gender. And it's not. It's somebody of the same sex. It's not homogenderality.
OK, Dana, let's finish off and very quickly tell us about the Canadian wellness guru on the Balinese volcano.
Yes, he decided to do a haka dance naked on a sacred Bali volcano, and some of the locals found that very disrespectful, and now they are looking to extradite him from the country. And, you know, this is not the first time something like this has happened. I remember being in Myanmar, and they had a big DJ party or whatever, and they had Buddha on there, and one guy just put headphones on the Buddha in the poster image, and he went to jail for about 3 years. He was from New Zealand.
OK. What I liked about this story is that he's currently awaiting deportation, but authorities say airlines are reluctant to help because he's not vaccinated against COVID-19. That's all we have time for. Thank you very much to my guests, Leo Kearse and Dana Alexander. Thank you to you on the other side of the screen for watching. Headliners will be back at the same time tomorrow, and I'll be hosting, which gives you twice as much reason to tune in. All that remains to be done is for me to pick up my papers in the way that television presenters do, and then look down at them and pretend I'm reading something very important. Cheerio.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon
and Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GBNews.
My name's Tom Harwood, and every weekday we bring you The Briefing live from 9:30 a.m. The stories, analysis and live debate that you need to hear.
Quite right, Tom, of course.
Was this something that had been considered at all?
Difficult to answer.
Gas-guzzling helicopters circling. Noise is being made here.
Joe Biden walking out.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, Monday to Friday, 9:30 a.m. on GB News.
Hello, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and you can join me every weekday 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr. Me and my panel will get stuck right into the day's events, and I can tell you, in fact, I can warn you, expect some robust debates, some strong opinions and perspectives from both sides of the fence. It's about you at home as well. I love to read out all of your comments, or at least as many as I can. So join me, Michelle Dewberry, Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr.
On radio, they call it the drive time slot, 4 p.m. until 6 p.m. as listeners head home. It's that part of the schedule when the dust of the day's events begin to clarify, and we try to make sense of it for you. Brazier is drive time for radio and TV. It's fast, it's punchy, it's opinionated, there's a Brazier angle and a little bit of levity.
That's the question. That's two questions, actually.
That's Brazier, Monday to Thursday, 4 till 6 on GB News.
Hello, I'm Patrick Christie's.
And I'm Mercy Moroki.
Make sure that you join us Monday to Thursday, 10 a.m. until midday, right here on GB News for To The Point.
We're not afraid to talk about the topics that matter to you or the big topics that always matter.
We cover absolutely everything, from the breaking political stories of the day to law and order, what's going on in the channel. We're not afraid to hold people to account.
We always make sure we include your views on our show.
Indeed, if you're thinking it, you can guarantee that we're saying it. So make sure you join the conversation with us, 10 a.m. until midday, Monday to Thursday for To The Point on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday